The bear, he'll kill you all!
This is Benny, made just for you. As long as you have him by your side, nothing can ever hurt you.
Not even the demons in the hallway.
Apart from them.
My story begins when I turned 35.
Jack.
The company want foreclosure on the loan. Repossess your house.
I have to get this finished.
Lots of people are saying you're already finished.
If you bought this tape, you're a loser. It's time to let go of the past. Do not fear change. Embrace it.
He can't be bargained with. He doesn't feel pity or remorse. He absolutely will not stop until you are dead.
Play with Benny.
The bear, he'll kill you all!
This is Benny, made just for you. As long as you have him by your side, nothing can ever hurt you.
Not even the demons in the hallway.
Apart from them.
My story begins when I turned 35.
Jack.
The company want foreclosure on the loan. Repossess your house.
I have to get this finished.
Lots of people are saying you're already finished.
If you bought this tape, you're a loser. It's time to let go of the past. Do not fear change. Embrace it.
He can't be bargained with. He doesn't feel pity or remorse. He absolutely will not stop until you are dead.
Play with Benny.
The bear, he'll kill you all!
This is Benny, made just for you. As long as you have him by your side, nothing can ever hurt you,
Not even the demons in the hallway.
apart from them.
My story begins when I turned 35.
Jack.
The company want foreclosure on the loan. Repossess your house.
I have to get this finished.
Lots of people are saying you're already finished.
If you bought this tape, you're a loser. It's time to let go of the past. Do not fear change. Embrace it.
He can't be bargained with. He doesn't feel pity or remorse. He absolutely will not stop until you are dead.
Play with Benny. Cuddle me. Benny loves you.
The bear, he'll kill you all!
Chucky. Benny.
This is Benny, made just for you. As long as you have him by your side, nothing can ever hurt you,
Not even the demons in the hallway.
apart from them.
My story begins when I turned 35.
Jack.
The company want foreclosure on the loan. Repossess your house.
I have to get this finished.
Lots of people are saying you're already finished.
If you bought this tape, you're a loser. It's time to let go of the past. Do not fear change. Embrace it.
He can't be bargained with. He doesn't feel pity or remorse. He absolutely will not stop until you are dead.
Play with Benny.
The bear, he'll kill you all!
Welcome to yet another edition of Dissecting Horror, where we talk to the filmmakers and actors and creators behind today's best horror movies. We're here at a special time because we're here with a special movie and we're here with a special group of people. Can't wait for you to meet them all. But today it's all about Benny Loves You. Benny Loves You is the latest release from Dread Presents, and it's on VOD today. And to celebrate the occasion, we've assembled a bunch of the crew, the cast and the director and even one of the producers of Benny Loves You to tell you all about the film. And it looks like we have Benny himself, popping up in the background. We're loving Benny. If you haven't seen it yet, you can see it immediately on VOD. Let me tell you who I'm here with. I'm here with Karl Holt, who is the film's writer, director, star, producer. You brought this film into the world, and it has consumed your life for, I understand, about 4 years now, correct?
5.
5 years. 5 years.
Yes.
Well, first, congratulations, because I think it's an incredibly funny film. It's dark, but it's funny as hell. It's got the toy horror angle. Everyone's going to instantly think of Child's Play and Trilogy of Terror, but there's more to it. This one's got its own unique flavor, and welcome. I'm hoping actually that you can be almost like my co-moderator throughout this, because so much you've been there through every step of the film. I want you to even help introduce some of these people and make sure that we hear the best stories, that get the best insights, and come away with the best understanding and appreciation of Benny Loves You. Before we do that, though, just tell us a little bit about the film and about you.
Oh, well, I'm a nobody. And then when this nobody hit 40 years of age, I was like, it was a bit of a midlife crisis. I've always wanted to be a film director, but the resources were never there when I came out of college. So it was VHS days, there was no way that you could get the finances. You had to shoot on film, and you would have to have had a lot of money to put something together. So like most people, I went off and I got a job, but I always made little short films in the meantime and started to build up my own equipment. And then when I got to about 38 or 39, I was a freelancer, and I thought, okay, if I'm ever going to do this, now's the time. So I thought I'm going to take all my savings and everything that I've learned and put it together to write my first feature film. So I wrote it in 2013. Took about 6 months to write it. There were so many different revisions, because the first thing you write is a $10 million picture, and then you've got to go and scale it all back. And so, I just thought when I hit 40, I would try to do what I'd always wanted to do as a kid, which was write and direct my first feature film, and then just hoped that something came of it. But I couldn't do it on my own, even though you just made it sound like I did. But it's a big endeavor to make a film. So John, who I've known for a long time, back in 1994, I helped John on a program he was doing for the BBC, and I was just carrying around equipment and setting up lights and things like that. And then 20 years later, he was helping me make my first feature film. So we took about 3 months together to prep it. And then we shot it in 2014 and 2015. We have a new member. And
don't reveal it yet. She might not be online yet.
Okay.
We may have a surprise guest arriving. I think you guys are getting an insight into the technical side of things.
It's getting cramped in here.
This is the first time we've had it. This is the first time we've had a panelist join after we started. We're so happy to have you, Lydia. Please make sure your mic is unmuted so that we can have you. Right now, John Condit is scrambling on the tech side to get all of our windows readjusted, but we're so happy to have you here. John was just telling us about John Bowe, who he met a while ago, and how he was integral as a producer. we're sure glad to have you here, John. Karl, why don't you actually take us around and let us know who else we're here with?
Sure. So first of all, obviously John. Without John, there wouldn't be a frame of this film made. If I give you a very brief overview of the crew, it's difficult to say completely because obviously the film was shot over a couple of months in 2014 and then another couple of weeks in 2015. But there were times where it was just me, John, and my mum on crew for maybe 60 or
and Benny
of the film. And Benny, well, I don't know whether he was on crew because someone had to actually manhandle him, so we lost a crew member, just someone holding him in the back of the shot. But yeah, and then at the weekends we got a couple of friends down. So when Anthony would come down or James would come down, and we needed some extra hands on set, we would have my friends Pete and Mark come down. But really, there were times where there was just for anything where there was like just me reacting to Benny or walking around the house. Sometimes that's just me and John on crew setting up the lights. So without John, there wouldn't be a frame of the film there, and he's down as cinematographer on the film.
Well, fantastic. Fantastic. I never meant to imply that you could have done this on your own because I understand that filmmaking is a Herculean effort. But I just had to give you your props. We talk about a lot of films, and it's rare that the writer, director, producer is also the star. So, I just really wanted to let people know how thoroughly you gave of yourself to this film.
Yeah,
that clearly it wouldn't have been the success it is were it not for John and your amazing cast. Tell us who we've got here with us.
So I will go through in order of little boxes on the top of the screen. So first we have David Wayman. David Wayman played Phil, the estate agent in the film, and David is a lot of fun. Just remember laughing all day with him. He was super game and up for anything. And
yeah, you were laughing.
He's a big horror aficionado as well. So hello, David.
Fantastic. Yeah, welcome, David. So glad to have you here. What was it like making movies and going face to face with a maniacal, evil doll?
Benny was kind enough to make me a cup of tea at one point while we were shooting, which was very nice. So he's lovely to work with. One of the kindest people I've shared a screen with in a while, actually.
Nice. Well, we're so glad to have you here. Who else do we have from the cast?
So Anthony Styles is here, and Anthony played Bad Cop. And I think we had quite a lot of time together actually on the set, didn't we, Anthony? You were down for maybe 4 or 5 days of the shoot.
Mainly in the evenings.
Yeah, and what was great about them was I always remember when Anthony and Darren turned up, they decided to meet each other before they came to the shoot. So they arrived in the car. And I always thought that was really good because they had this little banter between them already before they'd even turned up on set. But they were just really good fun to work with. So hello, Anthony. How are you doing?
Hi.
Hi, Anthony. Welcome. In the credits or in my notes, I have you listed as the bad cop, but I think you're both kind of bad cops. But you had an angle that was really unique, a very unique style of a crime investigation, shall we say.
I think it just involved eating custard creams because I needed the sugar rush, and then I could really find out what was going on in this strange, weird house full of bits of bodies and things that I strangely didn't notice.
Right. One of the best scenes in the film. You guys are gonna love it when you see it. But you really have like a wonderful reoccurring character. It's really funny how you're kind of woven throughout, and really glad to have you here. Welcome. Karl, who else do we have from the cast?
So next along is Lydia, and Lydia played Tara in the film, who I first meet on The Date from Hell. And then she comes back, presumably she's won the lottery because she can afford to buy that house. So she comes back as a house investigator and things go wrong. And Lydia, looks like you've joined us today from your padded cells. So nice to see you.
I actually do. I've got like this grey tracksuit on.
You look great, Lydia. Thank you so much for coming. We're so glad you were able to make it. Your character has some really just fun, choice lines, but I got to imagine that it must have been kind of strange for you to be in this film where your main antagonist is such a cutie pie in the form of Benny.
Yeah, it was weird filming it. I just always remember like having all this blood spurting in my face for a lot of it. And then like scrambling along the floor, and I don't know, it was a lot of good fun. I really enjoyed doing it.
What I remember about when Lydia turned up was that I think it was, we had a couple of days with you, and on the last day you were like, you know, I've got to be gone by, it was like 9 or 10 or something in the summer, and just like everything, we were right down to the wire. We had like 5 minutes left, and I'm like, we've got about 6 shots left to do for you, and we literally, it was like we were just dragging you around by your limbs, your hair, just from one room to the other. Quick, get this shot, quick, get that shot. And yeah, you were so game. I remember you kept run into the, you fell over loads of times because you were slipping in all the blood everywhere. And
yeah. Oh no, I loved it. I think I drove home with all like the blood still sticking everywhere.
I remember
it was great fun.
On all afternoon, covered in blood, and I don't know how you did it.
Oh, well, you know, it's turned out well. I'm in prison now, so.
Hey, maybe that's the safest place to be when you get on the bad side of, you know, Mr. Blue Vest over there. Well, we're so glad to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank
Karl,
you.
I think we got one more cast member.
Oh, do we have to, James? Yeah, I suppose we do. So James Parsons is an actor that I've actually worked with before. He's in a short film that we made in 2008 called and we got on very well. And I always thought, what I love about James is whenever you ask him to come and do a part, he just doesn't do the part on the page. He goes, yes, I've been thinking about this, and I think it would be great if he had a northern accent and wore this and did this. And I was just like, that's amazing. Yeah, just go for it. So James was somebody that I always wanted to work with again. And when I wrote the script, Ron just kind of popped off the page as a git, and I thought, that's James. So hello, James.
Cheers. Hey, James, welcome. You know, your character really is kind of like the X factor of this film. You know, Benny and Karl as Jack are really, you know, the tag team duo in the forefront, but your character is really unique, and it kind of serves as a all-around foil for Jack. Welcome, glad to have you here. What can you tell us about Ron, assuming a lot of the people tuning in haven't seen the film yet?
I just love the way Karl paints me as this actor that goes, yes, I know what you want, but what you're getting is this. It's not true. What can I tell you about Ron? Ron allowed me to channel my inner git. He's just irredeemably unpleasant and snide and just yuck, and enormous fun to play. I love playing snide, nasty yuck people because it's just so unlike me.
I hope so. I mean, we haven't met in real life, so
no, really, yeah. I am a git.
I mean, your character is hysterical, and one of the things that makes your character, this nasty man, so funny is that he's completely obsessed with a little pug, cutest little thing called Precious.
Yes, the dog. Yeah, I was handed this dog and told he's lovely. He'll stay still. He'll do it. Yeah, I ended up with the dog clamped to my chest, some cooked meat taped behind my ear, because it was the only way the damn thing would stay still was if it was clamped with the meat behind my ear. So it's sort of going, and it's just trying to get behind my ear to the meat. I was not sorry when the dog met its demise.
Spoiler alert, although
oh come on,
we definitely need to talk about Precious. It's emblematic of the fact that this is not your typical horror comedy. Oh, it's hysterical. It is hysterical, but this movie is dark. Yeah, Karl, have you heard of the website doesthedogdie.com?
No, what's that?
It's like a
Let me
database
guess.
where you can find out before you watch a film whether or not the dog that appears in it survives or not. And I was looking at the comments for for Benny Loves You, and obviously that database reports that the dog does not survive. Also mentions a cat who we assume, although we don't see, we assume that no. But one of the comments was, oh, the fact that it's just rubber makes it okay that it's dragged around on its leash for a while.
Yeah.
Something. It's like, I mean, what do you want to talk? What can you say about this scene that on the surface is so upsetting, but it's just so over the top? What were your goals going in, and has that scene been received as you expected?
Well, you can't account for people's sense of humor. So some people have said it's the best scene in the film, and some people have marked as 0 out of 10 because of that scene. But I'd like to just get out of the way that I say it in the film, and it's true, I love dogs, but I do think there is a big difference between on-screen violence. I mean, you're going into a horror comedy. If you signed a contract before you watch a horror comedy, it's that I am going to laugh at people being violently killed. And I think if you go in and say, I'm quite happy to laugh at women and children being killed, but I won't laugh at a dog being killed, I think there's probably something wrong with you. It's either all on the table or it's not. And I think I tried to mitigate that as well, because, the opening scene of the film kind of sets up the tone. There's a little girl in the opening scene and things happen to her. And I think that if you get through that opening scene and you can see the sort of comic value, it's really over the top. And I think that's the key. Like if you was to kill anybody in a very serious way, then I can understand people having a bad reaction to it. But it's done very comically, and I think
it is.
The more over the top you go with it, then actually the more people detach from it as being something that's real and just engage with the humor. That was my hope with it. I never.
Well, it's true. I mean, it's like you said. Yeah, what you can laugh at a decapitated head in a cabinet, but you can't laugh at a dog being dragged around, a dead dog being dragged around by a maniacal living puppet.
Yeah, I just find that a strange concept that somebody can sort of draw a line between the two.
Well,
it almost suggests you don't have empathy for people. It's like, oh, I've got empathy for dogs, but I ain't got empathy for kids or women. It's like,
well, the horror comedy is a great point too, because yes, this is a horror. I mean, come on, dolls don't just come to life, on their own. But it's very true. I think the thing is, and I'll say this, a lot of times when dogs die in horror movies, it almost feels cheap, like it's just being done for a reaction. But that's talking horror movies in general. What you've done isn't a horror comedy, and the way you've done it ultimately. Someone here, Knox Channel on Facebook says it's fair game in the movie, so I kind of agree there. One of the other things you brought up. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think we did it as a cheap shot either. It seems that way, but one of the things that I wanted to do with Benny when we made it is, it's like, yes, it's a slasher film, but in many slasher films you'll see, somebody goes off into a shed and then they get killed by the killer, and forget about it, and then there's a couple making out in a car and then they get killed, and all the deaths are really inconsequential to the plot, and then at the end of the film someone will stumble on their dead bodies. And so for me it was always important that every death in the film contributed to the narrative flow of it. It changed the direction of the film, and it also changed the emotional stakes. So for me, that scene with the dead dog is actually quite pivotal to a lot of things going on. It's sort of at the crux of Jack and his trying to get together with his girlfriend. It brings him and his boss's relationship and his, hopes of a promotion to a crescendo, and also his relationship with Benny. So it's actually I think a big turning point. It's not just a cheap shot to just go and do something fun. It was all, well, hopefully it was tried to be carved out into a kind of an intricate plot. So I don't think
things definitely do come to a head at that moment. That's where things go completely off the rails and really just sets up the insane third act. I want to talk to you so much more, Karl, but I don't want to ignore this talented cast here. I kind of have the same question for all of you. Yes, it's a horror comedy, so the audience is going to be suspending their disbelief. At the same time, as actors, you have to be able to give a somewhat convincing, portrayal. So what did you have to do to psych yourselves up to play opposite a doll? David, let's start with you.
Oh wow. It was very helpful because Karl showed us all of the sort of previs stuff of how it was going to look, and what was funny about it and how it flopped around and stuff. So you kind of get your head around all that stuff, and then you're really just playing the truth of the scene, I think, as an actor. Which in my case, I'm not sure how many spoilers I'm allowed to give here. But,
fair warning, plug your ears for the next.
Yeah.
30
So
seconds.
spoiler alert: I don't make the sequel, right? And I don't make the sequel in a way that I probably can't relate to as a human being. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here today. So there's a lot of just being coached through the fun of it all with Karl as well. He was very good at sort of painting the picture of what was happening right now, what's going through your head, and keeping the laughs going. Yeah, exactly. That's another big spoiler, but yeah, he's putting a lot of signs up for us all. Yeah.
Right on. James, how about you? What did you have to do to? Was there any method to preparing to act opposite a doll?
Method, prepare, act. Well, I don't think I actually appeared opposite Benny, apart from writer.
Spoiler alert. We won't say that. We won't say it.
And even then, I don't think Ron actually sees him. But it is that thing of, acting is the ability to pick up a cheese sandwich and convince you that it's the most terrifying thing you've ever seen in the world. So if you can't imagine this thing, if you can't make it real in your head, then you probably should be doing something else. So and as David said, you just play the truth of it. It doesn't matter how grotesque or bizarre your character is, and Ron is both grotesque and bizarre, but you play that for real. You don't play it for laughs. If you play it for laughs, it ain't funny.
Right.
It may still not be funny anyway, but at least this way it stands a chance.
True. Anthony, your character does come into have a confrontation with Benny. No spoilers, but you really did have to act terrified of this cutie pie. What was that like?
Well, it was a bit bizarre because even though I had to interact with him, I never actually saw him because he wasn't there. So all my interaction was on me, his point of view. So I never saw him, and then all of him was put in afterwards. So with those scenes, there was all of that. My biggest thing was working with everything that he'd left behind, all the bits and bobs that I wasn't, as a bad cop, was not supposed to notice, while it was right underneath my nose. And spoiler alert, I am in the sequel and the prequel. Okay, Karl?
Okay, I've got it. I will say for Anthony, when that scene, which I'm not going to give any spoilers away, but there's a police car in that scene, and we only could afford to hire the police car for a day. So we had to sort of wangle the script so that I could shoot all the daytime scenes, the morning scenes, and the evening scenes with a police car, even though obviously they were completely out of order continuity wise. And we had 10 minutes left with the car, and the guy that had brought it over was like, yeah, no, I gotta go at midnight, like you ain't getting a second more. And so all that stuff at the end with Anthony was so rushed, and he did amazing. It was just like, right, stand there, what am I doing? You're screaming, okay, go. And it was so fast, and it must have been very difficult to do.
It was great fun. And then we went to bed.
Nice. Well,
spoiler alert.
Nothing about the film felt rushed or lacking. So none of that showed, except for Anthony's commitment to it. So well done. Lydia, you did interact with Benny in quite a colorful way. This has to be the first time you've faced such a unique adversary in your acting career.
Yeah, I think it was just a bit of a dream to be able to just really go for it, and if it's over the top, then it kind of works for the film. So it just felt really liberating to just be screaming and running. And I guess also when you're acting on film, you quite often, you can't actually see your partner because it's the camera. So weirdly enough, it didn't feel that odd if, say, Benny was chasing me, it was just the camera. So yeah, I mean, it was just, I think it's every actor's dream to, you know, be in one of those movies where you can just scream your head off and run around and get blood in your face. Or is that might just be my weird fantasy? I don't know.
Well, we love seeing it.
That I will say is that all the cast just got it. I mean, it's one of those things where I think when they read the script, or you know, or their section in the script, or I explained what the film was about, they just knew what kind of film this was, and got on board. There were no questions about, oh, why is this happening? You know, everybody knew that it was from the outset. It's a ridiculous premise, you know. And if you were to look at things physically, like this thing, I mean, you know, it weighs about 200 grams. He's only going to be capable of so much stuff. He doesn't have paws. He can't cling to things. So you're not dealing with, you know, something which in the real world is all physically accurate. And I think, yeah, all of the cast were just absolutely on board with what kind of, where it was positioned, and then performed their part. I didn't have to direct them. I will say that. Everybody just did it. And
you tried.
Making me look.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, I'm glad that everyone bought in. Yes, please.
Sorry, I just have to say that Karl and John just made it so comfortable, and just, you felt so at ease with them. And I always remember that before we had a read through and we had a roast dinner at their house.
Oh, yes, we did.
And I just, that's never happened to me since. And it just set the tone of such a really lovely, comforting, happy environment. They were just so chilled out and friendly and kind that I think as an actor, yeah, I just thought it was so lovely and generous.
Well, fantastic. I mean, you all did a great job, and you know, the sum of the parts is just really fantastic. It's so wonderful that you were all able to embrace it. You know, it's really funny, Karl, because you use the term real world. And one of the things you're right, like in the real world, it is a really just silly premise. But what you've done that allows us to get into it is world building. Because, you know, this isn't about a guy who might be crazy and his puppet is doing his toys doing his bidding. You've created a world where if you mistreat your childhood stuffed animals, they're likely to come back and kick your ass. Not just for Jack. You know, that's the whole, you know, point of the very first scene in the film, is that this is the world we live in. And Dawn's character, her past comes back to haunt her as well. I love that idea. I love that you did that.
Yeah, thanks. No, I'm glad that you kind of got that as well. There's been, you know, a couple of comments that have said, you know, oh, I love the film, but why is the opening scene there? Because it isn't Benny. And you're like, well, you know, it's like Toy Story, right? If these toys are going to show that they come to life when humans aren't around, you have to hit the audience with that right at the opening. If you'd have chopped the opening scene off the film and you didn't show that, you know, if a girl throws her toy out, it comes back to get her, you're setting up the rules, as you say, the story rules, which are in this world. If you throw out a toy that you love, it will come back and get you. If that scene hadn't been on there and Benny just bubbles to life at the 20-minute marks, everyone's going to be really confused. So yeah, it was very important to me that was kind of something that would be right at the start. And obviously you couldn't have Benny coming to life at the start because he hasn't been thrown out, but you can have the forces of antagonism come to life at the start. So yeah, it was kind of an important thing that was it's like a dark version of Toy Story, I guess, that you know, the toys don't have life until you take it from them, until you treat them badly.
Wow, that's awesome. And I do want to unpack these themes you've got too, because it is a horror comedy. You can enjoy it just on the surface, but there are a lot of themes in there about, you know, growing up and independence, and, you know, when to put childish things aside. But I do want to get to a few questions here from people who have been tuning in. let's see. Someone did ask whether there's going to be Benny Loves You merch available, because I think everyone, seeing Benny here really wants to bring him into their home, probably because they haven't seen the movie yet. But maybe even after they see the movie, they're still going to want to have their very own Benny to cuddle up with.
Yeah, so this was something that I never even thought of this when we were making the film, but after it showed at Fright Fest in London last year, I got, not kidding, like from the one showing, I got about 50 requests for a plush toy. So I thought, well, why not? And actually we have had little Bennies made. So
nice.
They're currently still in the oven, they're cooking in the oven, but he's got a little sort of foam knife, and he's got a voice box. So if you push his hand.
Awesome.
So he's got like 12 sayings on the film. Ta-da, obviously. And yeah, these are going to go on sale in the UK, hopefully in the next month or so. And we're looking at trying to get them out in the US as well as soon as possible. So we'll keep people up to date on that.
And you ignored my request for a Ron action figure. Completely ignored it.
I'll have one.
I definitely want to bring a Benny into my home, although he might, run afoul of Sock Monkey me right here, who's kind of my original OG Benny. I'm not sure if there's enough room here for both of them. But, I'd be willing to risk it because Benny is certainly a cutie pie. Who does the voice?
It's my voice, yeah. But it's me being in my highest octave, and then with a little help from Adobe Audition to shift myself up a couple of pitches. So
nice.
Yeah, I think I did Amy as well. I think that one I had to shift myself up about 4 octaves to do that one. But yeah, no, that was just a case of sitting in the sound booth and just seeing if we could get something that sounded good. John did the voice for Todd at the start.
Oh yeah.
Go on, do it.
No,
go on, do it.
The evil teddy bear.
Yeah,
well, that's awesome.
We all did the voices for him. Yeah.
John, I want to treat you like a member of the cast too, since you were there for so much of it. And since, as Karl explained, a lot of times it was just the two of you. Were you guys bouncing ideas off each other from time to time? Were you helping shape and fine tune the story?
Yeah, well, Karl had written the script, obviously, and we had some storyboards. We didn't have a complete set of storyboards, but we had a lot, so we had to change a lot of things literally as we were doing them. Yeah. But yeah, we would chat all the way through, wouldn't we? Everything we were doing, we'd be chatting through.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you write a scene, but then when you get to the location doesn't match the scene. Yeah. So then you're like, oh shit, we've got like 3 hours and we've got to rewrite the scene. And so, John is one of his biggest, I'd say, assets is that he's Mr. DIY. And some of the stuff that he did in there's a bit where Lydia looks down from the loft. Now, that loft is completely CG. It was just Lydia on a green screen table. But for the bit where she looks over, John actually built like just a little, well, you tell me how you made it.
Like, I can't even remember. It was like a framework, wasn't it? I think it was just literally a framework with green screen surround, and then Lydia looked over it and it looked like she was peering out of the loft.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's easy to suspect that, this is clearly green screens and strings, but it still looks really good. I mean, I think it's a combination of, not working outside your means. Clearly you didn't have a big studio budget, but you did very well with what you had. I mean, it looks basic, but I mean, I don't see any wires, I couldn't
There are
tell.
no wires. No wires.
No wires.
No, Benny is CG for the entire film.
The entire film.
The only time that he's real is if someone's holding him.
Wow.
And any time you see him move, it's a computer generated Benny.
Every time. Wow, that's pretty amazing, actually, because you had him moving. Like his feet didn't walk, they he kind of like bounces like you'd expect to see if there's a screen on. But So that was all just CGI. That's really, really interesting.
That's what took the time to do, because my vision for him was not to walk like Ted or Chucky, but to move like a child was playing with him.
Yeah, which he does, yeah. Which is why I thought there must be strings, that I just wasn't seeing. Well, fantastic. I really love that little bit of insight.
But it's difficult. It would have been difficult to do, because some people say, well, why didn't you just use him with strings? And it's like, well, one, you can't get that level of control with strings. So it's that fine balance between you want him to look like he's a puppet, but he's clearly doing things that a puppet can't do. Like, puppets somersaulting through the air whilst holding a knife out in front of him, or he's holding something which, like you say, it's just a pad. So there's no way that you try and put a chainsaw in that hand and the whole the whole bear's just going to fall over. So there was not really a way to do it unless it was CG. I don't think you could have built a physical prop that was this floppy and also could carry. It was like if he wanted control over his limbs, he could retain them. But but for the most part, he looks like he's got absolutely no control over them. But then he would, throw a knife at you and kill you with precision.
With precision, yeah. No, that's awesome. Who was it? I think Anthony was joking around about definitely being in the sequel, but it's an actual question that came up too. Is there going to be a sequel? And part of why I'm curious about that is because you recently did an interview with our writer Drew Tinnen, where you talked about this, kind of really elaborate origins of Benny. That seems kind of like it would be great, for a sequel or a prequel or something.
I mean, it's not that there couldn't be an idea for a sequel, but it's really not going to happen. I mean, from my point of view, and that I know.
You lying to poor Anthony?
What? Sorry, Anthony. It's like, well, I mean, being honest about this, I've spent the last we shot this in 2014. That's how long it's taken me to finish this. So I've spent 4 years in an office in the back garden doing all the CG work. And like I say, that last scene in the kitchen is completely CG. The whole kitchen was built from scratch. The robots are CG, Benny's CG.
The robots are CG as well.
Oh yeah, completely.
Wow. I thought you just had some really, really killer designers. I thought you guys just had some really slick toys out there in the UK.
No, they were just made from sketches I did. I mean, I built Benny, I modeled Benny in 3D myself, but I paid a freelancer to model the two robots. But then they sent them to me, and then I animated them and textured them and rendered them and all that. So that last sequence, I'd say the last 20 minutes of the film took me 8 months to do. The whole thing took 4 years. And that is 4 years of me going out into my office in the back of the garden from 10 in the morning till midnight. It wasn't like, 4 years whilst I've got another job. It was I quit my job and I've done it for 4 years. So being honest, I'm never going to get, I'm broke now. So it's like, I couldn't afford to do that again. I couldn't afford to just sit in the garden for 5 years and make a sequel to this. So
any producers out there, take note. Any producers, if you want to see me in the sequel and prequel, give Karl your money.
Yeah, Karl, I mean, if you bag of $5 million fell out of the sky into your lap, you saying you wouldn't do a Benny sequel?
If somebody gave me $5 million, I might think about it. But then the other side of this is
think about it. You're going to do it.
I've spent 5 years on this, and in a way, I'm just like, I need to do something. I mean, what's the longest
Benny burnout?
What's the longest you've ever worked on a project? And I'm telling you, if you've sat there and looked at the same edit for 5 years, like, I just want to go and make a character drama with Meryl Streep in or something now. I just want to do a complete 180.
I suspect if somebody gave you $5 million, you'd think about a Benny sequel while sitting on your island somewhere.
Yeah, there you go. Man, I guess I can understand, a little bit of Benny fatigue, but at the same time, he's so fresh to all of us, and especially, here in America, where the film's just now getting its release. I think you're going to be hearing a lot of people wanting to see more of Benny. Now let me ask you a hypothetical here. You can be as serious with it as you like. How do you think Benny would fare against Chucky?
This has come up a lot.
Anyone can weigh in based on your own personal interactions with Benny and your knowledge of Chucky.
I think all the actors should answer this one. So we'll start with David.
I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. If Benny can take me down, he can take anyone down.
I can take you down.
It's a different story, that one, Anthony.
Anyone else have an idea? Think that everyone agree that Benny would probably be the victor?
Benny would definitely be the victor, because he knows how to make you laugh, and he also knows how to make you love him, which is very important. So, and because you're laughing and loving him and thinking he's so cute and cuddly, and then he'll stick that knife in.
I think
it sounds like a lot of guys have dated.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
Lord.
My personal view is that Chucky has obviously got more strength and more physicality, but I think Benny is cleverer. I think Benny would have a whole host of traps set up for Chucky. So
I think Benny is manic, and manic is unpredictable, and unpredictable makes him very, very dangerous.
Yes. Well, let's talk a little bit. We're down to like our last 15 minutes here, but Karl, I would like you to just talk a little bit about the themes of Benny Loves You, because like I said, you don't have to go looking for subtext to enjoy this movie. You might like it more if you don't, but you can't ignore that there's a serious side, just as the comedy can be very dark. There's some it seems like you're saying something about, maybe this new phenomenon of adults living with their parents, or something about, holding on too long to your childhood, the need to put things away and transition to a new stage in your life. And I'm about that age too, so it resonated with me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess, I was just turned 40 when I made the film, so I was doing my own little coming of age. Saying I always wanted to be a film director, and it never happened. And I was like, right, if you don't do it now, you never will. And I guess the story is about another character, Jack, coming of age. But I always looked at it like not kind of like an opposite of a man-child movie, where you often see those films where they learn to grow up and be responsible. And this was more saying that you need to keep that childhood instinctive view alive as you grow up, because he's forced to, after the tragedy that befalls him, he's forced to actually put all of his personality away into the basement. So it was that idea that he's denying who he is. And and subconsciously that's never a good thing to do. So Benny comes to life and sort of bubbles to the surface, at the same time that he tries to repress all those childhood instincts that he has. So it's really a film, and also he's trying to emulate the guy at work that has the suit on. He gets his self-help tape, thinking he can just turn his life around like that and be this other person. And so I guess the subtext of the film is that you can't just do that. You can't just pretend to be somebody that you're not, and you shouldn't ever get rid of those childish instincts that we always have, because then they come back in unpredictable ways. And that's kind of what Benny is. He's like an avatar for Jack's repressed personality, like out of control, and it only comes to the surface when Jack buries it. And there's a lot of similarities throughout the script. Like, you've got a scene in there, I won't give away too much, but Jack daydreams that he does something to a character, and it's something that he wouldn't actually do. But then later in the film, Benny does that exact same action to somebody in real life. And there's also, there's a scene where Jack has to sign the house away. It was a scene that I struggled writing, and it always felt a bit basic to me. It was just this conversation between two people. Yeah, here you go, sign here. And I thought, it's missing something. And I went back and I put in this little sort of subtext that Jack had made him this cup of tea from this biscuit that he'd found on the floor with all the hair in, and he'd made it from lumpy milk. And that was like, again, getting across Jack's darker side, but it was not overt and it wasn't on the surface. So at the end of that scene, he offers him the tea, he offers him the biscuit, and then you get an idea of what Jack is really like underneath. And then later in the film, Benny also sabotages somebody else's tea, and then that's with David. So there's a lot of little connections between what Jack does and what Benny does, and what Jack's thinking and what Benny actions on. And of course, Benny only ever kills people really that Jack dislikes, or people that are out to get Jack. So it was always important to me that those things were in there, whether people pick up on them or not.
Fantastic, fantastic. You know, I just kind of want to go around and give everyone a chance to talk about their best memories from working on the film, or either your best memory or your most challenging moment. And I'm going to include you on this too, John. So why don't you actually start?
My worst moment. Can I tell you my worst moment?
Sure.
About 2 o'clock in the morning.
Was it working with me, John?
No, it wasn't Anthony. It definitely wasn't working. No. 2 o'clock in the morning. Carl's radio microphone had gone flat. The batteries had gone flat, so I had to dash out of the place where we were filming.
Oh, this was just the two of us at this point.
There's just two of us.
My mum, who was by the way, just to say, my mum was a massive crew member on this film. She's probably watching right now. She's awesome, and she gave up 2 months to come down and film with us. And,
that's great.
Oh, she was
That's
on
awesome.
boom. She was tapping the strobe light, making the lightning flash. And then when other people turned up and took over boom duties from us, she'd be doing catering for everybody. And she was basically, John and my mum were the main crew members. But this particular episode John's talking about is when my mum had she just left and gone back home, and it was just the two of us.
Yeah, so anyway, his batteries had gone flat. I left the building where we were in, and I had to go through the garden to get some new batteries. Picked up the new batteries, walked back across the garden. It's pitch black where we are. We're in the middle of the country. Put the batteries in the microphone, and then I sat down on the floor to continue filming. And then I could smell something really, really unpleasant. And whilst I was going through the garden, I'd stepped in some dog poo, and I'd walked it all through the set where we were filming. So we had
Nice.
down tools, clean up all the poo.
Like just cleaning up dog shit at 2 a.m.
Yeah. So that was a bit of a bum moment.
And it had got on all the light stand wires. It had got on the boom wire.
Oh,
man.
It was
Can
on
I just
the
say,
wire.
this is why Precious dies.
Anthony, what was your best, worst, or just funniest moment from working on Benny?
I think working with John, to be perfectly honest, because John and I had this very strange thing going, because John was on sound at that point. And I used to play lots of tricks on John because he would be listening in, and I would go off to the bathroom and do things. I'll leave that up to your own imagination. But it was the fact, I think, just on set and off set, we were one big family. But again, the big family was just a few people, because you only saw the people who you were acting with and the crew, which was very, very small. But you became that family, and we just had such a laugh. I mean, this is why I want to do the sequel and the prequel.
Yes.
And the animated version, please.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, we want to see more of Benny and these great interactions. Lydia, best, worst, craziest behind the scenes moment.
I mean, I loved all of it. It was, I had a few scenes with David as well, which was, I remember we had a laugh on that. I just think, I mean, I said it before, but just the whole, like, John and Karl, like, just being really friendly and warming, and just, it's just so nice to see the film doing so well after like 4 years of hard work. So it's a lovely memory I've got of working on the film.
Fantastic. Fantastic. James, so many great Ron moments throughout it. You guys, I can imagine that every time Karl said cut, everyone just bursts out into uncontrollable, hysterical laughter. Best, worst, craziest, most fascinating behind the scenes story from Benny?
I don't really have any crazy ones. I mean, it all went remarkably smoothly, given the pressures that we were all working under. I don't, and also I have trouble remembering what I did last week.
There was that time, James, where you was filming till 6 a.m. Do you remember that? And,
I do remember sitting, having things applied to me for hours at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, as I sort of slowly nodded off, and then being asked for loads of energy. And you at 5 in the morning, you've got to be kidding me. I can just about manage awake. But no, it was just enormous fun. And working with Karl is enormous fun, and who wouldn't want to? But yeah, I don't really have a particularly crazy one. I realized a couple of years ago, the reason I have friends is so that they can remember my life for me, because
there you go.
So, you know, Karl, you probably remember more what happened than I do.
Well, that's great. I mean, just hearing that the entire experience, rates so positively with you, it is awesome, because it's a movie.
He's paid us a lot of money.
It's a movie that while you're watching, you want to think was as fun as it is to watch, and it really does sound like it. What about you, David? Best, worst, craziest behind the scenes moment?
I remember just lying in a sort of porchway covered in fake blood, absolutely drenched in it, and trying to get it together before a take, laughing hysterically, and the camera running up and me going, okay, all right, I'm serious now, I'm dying, okay, here we go. But also, I remember when I first got the script through from Karl, he'd written in this sound effect, like the horror movie boom noise. He'd written that in onomatopoeically in the script. So he said, she turns around the corner and sees something, boom, and that got me laughing from the get-go. So the whole thing's just been a bundle of laughs from the very start.
Fantastic.
I do remember what I would often do is with David's bit, we'd play it back. So we'd shoot a scene, because particularly if you shoot it in slow motion and there's some blood, and then after we'd say cut. So David sat there, in a pool of blood on the floor, and I'd be like, no, come, we'll have a look. And then so we'd spin the monitor around and play it, and then we'd all just go, ah! And we'd all just piss ourselves laughing at it. And then okay, right, serious now, take 2.
Man, I wish I could have been there. And, I don't want the fun to end. I want to see more Benny. So maybe the success of the film will will inspire you to think again about going back to the Benny.
Who knows?
Fun.
Maybe if I had a couple of years off from it, go and make something different.
Sure. Yeah. Cleanse your palate a little bit. Speaking of that, what are you working on now?
Well, believe it or not, up till probably this week, it's still been, all the promotion to do with this. I've been quite involved, behind the scenes, even with the US.
I do know, actually, yes.
Yeah, so there's not been the time, believe it or not, to actually start something new. But I've got a couple of ideas, and I think now that the film's out there, it's quite a nice day for me. On twofold: one, that the film is finally out, people get to see it, and that's all great. But also, I can get a little bit of my time back now again, and I can sit back down and start writing something. I'd really like to write something creepy and dark next. Just do a bit of a 180 from this. And also,
I know a great title for it, Karl. It's called Bad Cop.
Like Bad Lieutenant. Are you going to do a Harvey Keitel on me?
Well, that's great. I mean, doing something, doing a 180 and doing something new. I mean, that sounds great. John, are you going to be working with Karl on whatever he does next?
Probably. I'm sure I'll get roped into it. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be working on anything with me, but if I make him enough cups of tea, then he'll say, "Go on, then."
Well, there's no denying that you guys are a good team. So I do hope that you can continue to benefit from this productive relationship you guys have. Anthony, what are you working on these days?
Well, myself, unfortunately, it's very quiet at the moment. COVID hasn't really let me out of the house much, so it's very quiet now. So looking after Benny.
The BBC.
Fantastic. Well, what about you, Lydia? You working? You have something you're working on now, correct?
Well, yeah, I've got a podcast that I'm doing with one of my friends.
Tell us about it.
It's called Marcus and Lynn. So it's all improvised. We do it every week, and it's about 2 middle-class journalists who are just is all improvised, and then you find out that my character is up for life because she's murdered someone. But it's all very British, like stiff upper lip, and so we were doing that, and now we're writing a play with those two characters.
Fantastic.
So yeah.
Well, good luck on that, and congratulations on Benny Loves You. You have a really fun part in it. I think people are going to enjoy it. Going to enjoy your contributions to it. How about you, James? Well, what are you working on these days?
The reason I have this hideous haircut is that I've been filming for the last couple of days down near Gloucester in the old prison there, shooting a new TV series called Sea View. Don't ask me when it's on. Don't ask me where it's on. I've no idea. I'm just the hired help. I'm also working on a couple more series, one called Making Friends as the World Ends and another called Playground. But they are coming up at some stage in the next year or so.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, good luck to all your future endeavors, and congratulations on Benny Loves You. I think your character is just really always fun, always interesting. You did a really incredible job on such a crummy dude as Ron. So I can't wait for people to check you out. David, what do you got going on these days?
So I recently finished a bunch of shoots actually, so I'm back to auditioning now. But yeah, I had a nice sort of emergence from lockdown, shooting Roller Squad, which is a sort of comedy Goonies type movie about a bunch of roller skaters chasing a serial killer.
Nice. Yes, I like the sound of that.
It's good fun. And I also shot on a film called The Ledge, which was pretty awesome actually. It's a thriller about rock climbing, and I won't go into too much detail because what's on their IMDb. Oh, here we go. A climber trapped on the face of a mountain fights off 4 killers stood on an overhanging ledge 20 feet above her. So there you go.
Oh, cool.
That's what I can say about that.
Sounds thrilling and exciting. Good luck on all those projects and everything else coming up, and congratulations on Benny Loves You. Congratulations to you all on really making a film that, yes, it's funny. Yes, it's over the top. You know what else, though? This film has a lot of heart. And hearing about how you guys really felt like a family, hearing about Karl and John, how you guys created such a warm and inviting atmosphere. Your cast is clearly in love with you guys. It's just really great to hear. And that kind of positivity really does come through. I'm just super excited for people to see Benny Loves You now that it's on VOD. Check it out right now if you haven't already. John, I can't help but see your film as something that could really inspire today's indie filmmakers. Can you just talk about what does it feel like now that you said you're finally able to sit back and relax? Now that you can kind of like put a chapter on the whole Benny Loves You experience, looking back on it all, tell us a little bit about it. Give us an overview.
Well, I guess it's just, I always wanted to make a feature film, but I haven't had the funds or the resources to do it. So you probably can't get as indie as this. It doesn't come as, short of actually making a film, push and record on a camera and getting in front of the shot, which I did do for a couple of shots. But I mean, it's one of those where you think, oh, I did something. I didn't ever think it would inspire somebody else. It's more just something that I had to do. It's something that I wanted to do as a kid and never had the opportunity to do it. Looking back on it now, it's a very difficult thing to say. Like I say, the reviews are out, and we've had some reviews which say it's the worst thing that's ever been made and I shouldn't be allowed to pick up a camera. And we've had reviews saying that it's the greatest thing ever made and it's a masterpiece. And we've had all stuff in between. So you can't really glean anything from reviews. You just have to go with your own instincts. And it's hard to say looking back on it. I never feel like a sense of pride in what I've done. I just think it's nice that I've created something that people respond to. The best thing for me has been we had on Twitter the other week some girl who had a 28th birthday and her boyfriend had made her a cake, and on top of the cake was this big Benny and he was all made out of icing. And those are the moments where you think, oh my God, I've created something that someone on the other side of the world has loved, and it's made an impact on them. Impact that they said, "Oh, I want a little Benny" or something. So that's the nicest thing. The nicest thing is the audience reaction. So when people send you a message and say, and you know, I tell John all of them. You know, whenever I get a text that says, "I've just seen Benny Loves You and I thought it was hilarious," I'm like, "John, look at this, look at this." So that's never lost on me, and I hope that never does go away.
Well, you're very humble, because you should be very proud of what you did. You know, you're clearly the engine that brought Benny Loves You to fruition. You know, and you clearly benefited from this really talented group of actors and your producer John. This brings us to the end of our time, unfortunately. But Karl, I want to give you the final word. You know, why should people be excited to go out and watch Benny Loves You on VOD ASAP?
They should be excited to go and watch Benny because it contains an amazing cast who all completely got it. They all roll with their parts. They're all much bigger actors and better characters than I could ever hope to be. And it was just made with a lot of love. And if you want to support indie film, hopefully you'll have fun, but it doesn't get more indie than this. So just have a wicked time. That's the main thing.
Have a wicked time. Fantastic. Well, I want to thank all of my panelists for being here. We've been talking about Benny Loves You on VOD today. I want to thank all of our readers/viewers who tuned in to see this happening. I want to thank Benny. We've been seeing him pop up. You know, we've seen him in real life. We've also been seeing him pop up here on the computer screen throughout. It's been giving us some laughs. But panelists, stick around for just a minute. Everyone else, I want to thank you for tuning in. Come back tomorrow at 6 p.m. PST. We'll be talking to the creatives about initiation. Pardon me, I loved that ending. But back to Benny Loves You. We love it. It's on VOD today. Thank you to Karl and the cast and the producers. We'll see you next time. Bye. Panelists, stick around.
The bear, he'll kill you all!
This is Benny, made just for you. As long as you have him by your side, nothing can ever hurt you.
Not even the demons in the hallway.
Apart from them.
My story begins when I turned 35.
Jack.
The company want foreclosure on the loan. Repossess your house.
I have to get this finished.
Lots of people are saying you're already finished.
If you bought this tape, you're a loser. It's time to let go of the past. Do not fear change. Embrace it.
He can't be bargained with. He doesn't feel pity or remorse. He absolutely will not stop until you are dead.
Play with Benny.